Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Brief.
Conflict with Iran is boiling now, and the international community seems to be cracking down on the regime in Tehran from every angle. Militarily, Saudi news network Al Arabiya reports explosions in eastern Syria Wednesday night as warplanes hit several alleged weapons storehouses connected to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And the attacks near Al-Bukamal airport mark an area that's been hit multiple times for hosting Iranian forces, including by Israel. But when asked about the strikes during a press briefing in Lisbon, Portugal, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu simply remarks, "I never talk about that." But that said, Netanyahu is praising the sanctions and other actions taken against Iran. Also, Netanyahu arrived in Portugal for meetings with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, where the two discussed Iran and other regional developments. And Netanyahu also takes credit for preventing a meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Iranian President Rouhani in September, though Rouhani has recently alleged that his only obstacle to meeting with President Trump is the United States sanctions against Iran. Meanwhile, diplomatically speaking, the UK, France, and Germany are now taking a tougher stance on the Ayatollahs in condemning Iran's development of nuclear-capable ballistic missiles. The trio says that this goes against UNSC resolutions calling on Tehran not to pursue such technology, and that Iran's ballistics activity is inconsistent with previous endorsements of the JCPOA nuclear deal. Israel Beitenu party head Avigdor Lieberman has officially declared negotiations dead. Speaking to the press, he says his party has done everything to pressure the Likud and the blue and white parties into a unity government, and that nothing would work. So now he's decided that his hands are clean, and that he'll not sit with either party, potentially forcing a third election. But if it meant preventing another vote, Lieberman has previously stated that he would sit with whichever party tries harder to unite. So when asked what changed since then, Lieberman explains that a narrow government, either left or right, would be one of perpetual friction, likely to create a polarization in the public as well. Meanwhile, Israeli news is reporting that Prime Minister Netanyahu has now officially authorized Likud primaries for December 22nd, 11 days after the Knesset deadline to form a coalition. So indeed, it really does seem that third elections are on the horizon, with all three major parties backing away from the negotiating table. Though Likud spokespeople have yet to confirm the Channel 12 report, calling it premature. Following pressure from major Jewish advocacy groups and now the school's provost, the McGill University Student Union has walked back on an anti-Semitic decision begrudgingly. In late November, the board held a vote and passed with overwhelming support a resolution calling on their fellow Jewish council member Jordan Wright to either forfeit a free trip to Israel and the Palestinian territories or resign. Two other non-Jewish members of the board, however, were also planning on attending this trip, but Wright says that they were not addressed in the resolution. The tour, called Face to Face, is run by a Jewish community group called Hillel, and its intent to educate students about the Israel-Palestinian conflict by exposing them to journalists and community leaders from both Israel and the communities in the West Bank. So the motion for Wright's removal has been labeled as discriminatory and anti-Semitic, and the Anti-Defamation League and Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs responded strongly, applauding the board of directors for ultimately rejecting the student council's motion targeting Wright. But though the board of directors prevented the motion from moving forward, the student union is not backing down on its initial idea. A statement from the student union starts out with, quote, "deepest sympathies to Wright," but the letter takes a stark turn, saying that it's important to make clear that the union president did not encourage attacks against Wright, and that because the trip was worth more than $50 and provided by a, quote, interest group, it would cause her to be impartial as a board member. Next, they called out the deputy provost of Student Life for defending Wright, saying that while they appreciate his show of support for the Jewish and pro-Israel community on campus, he has yet to show the same such support for Palestinian and Arab students. Two hit Israeli TV series, Your Honor and Asylum City, are now making their way abroad, and specifically to Europe and Australia. The show Your Honor, or Kvodo, will be airing in Sweden and Poland, where it was just recently purchased by local TV networks. The program is about a judge who takes on a new life after his teenage son kills the boy of a local crime boss during a hit-and-run accident. Further, the show will also be remade by Showtime in the United States, and it has some serious star power. The show is also called Your Honor, which is English for Kvodo, and it'll run for 10 episodes, including Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad as both the show's lead and executive producer. Meanwhile, Asylum City, from the same network as Kvodo, is based on a novel by an Israeli writer who created the thriller in 2013. And this show is heading to France and Australia. Asylum City looks into the world of human trafficking and asylum seekers, and both shows come from the Israeli hit network Yes, for which Fauda was produced and recently picked up in Bollywood, too.
That's all for now, but for more news from Israel, remember to like ILTV on Facebook and on Instagram, and to subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.